Scientists in Uganda are developing what they call a golden banana. It is designed to be more resistant and contain higher levels of vitamins and minerals.
We have been able to show that we can increase our vitamin A levels 6 times.
Genetically modified or GM crops offer the best hope of increasing productivity and coping with climate change in Africa, according to the co-author of the Chatham House report, Rob Bailey.
There's a whole host of GM crops in development in Africa, specifically designed to address the needs of poor farmers and poor food consumers. Crops like cassava, sorghum, bananas, sweet potato, drought-tolerant maize. And it's precisely these crops that are stuck at the field trial stage.
The reason, says Bailey, is governments are reluctant to approve the crops in the face of intense lobbying from anti-GM crop campaign groups.
For example, alleging a link between GM crops and infertility or cancer or animal deformities, none of which is true. There's no evidence for any of this.
Opponents argue GM crops do not yield more food and hurt the environment and poor farmers. On the outskirts of the Ghanaian capital, Accra, farmer Tete Nate grows pawpaw, maize and other vegetables alongside a small dairy business. This year, Ghana approved field trials for GM grains like cowpeas. Nate thinks it's a bad idea.
And anything that is not natural, it has got its bad sides. You know it. Yes, if it is not natural, then be very careful. Be very careful of it, because at the end of the day, we start taking GM products. But who has done the research?
Ghana's government insists it has put in place stringent biosafety laws, but increasing yields through GM crops is not the answer to food shortages in Africa, says Soren Ambrose of ActionAid, who spoke to VOA via Skype from Nairobi.
But in fact, it's not so much the problem of producing food as it is the problem of getting the food that is produced to the people who need it. But the continent is very much still struggling with its road infrastructure, with its storage facilities for agricultural products and so on.
If one African country did approve GM crops, others would quickly follow, says Rob Bailey of Chatham House.
And it would become apparent to farmers that they're very useful, that they're potentially more high yielding, that they have resistance to pests or diseases, and that consumers can see that they're not actually a threat to their health.
Supporters of GM crops argue they could trigger a green revolution in African agriculture, but there are still many who remain unconvinced. Henry Ridgwell for VOA News, London.